All right, everybody, here we go. This week in real estate happens to be a beautiful day, and March happens to be the last day of March. Hey, I get asked all the time, what's happening with the market? Is it going to crash? Are we going to take another run this year? Where interest rates are at? If I told you the amount of emails I got saying, hey, rates are creeping, rates are where they're at, this is the time, honestly, where you need to start tracking your asset. If you have a massive portfolio of houses or you have one, think about if you and I were in business together 2 years ago, right? How much equity have you earned in your property over the last 2 years? Depending on neighborhoods, somewhere between 15 and 30%. It's crazy. Some neighborhoods have increased 30% over 2 years. Those are real numbers, right? What we need to do today is start to create a baseline for you. The market will soften. The market will change. That's what happens in real estate. It's a cyclical market. And so what my job is to do is to provide you value year round, not just when you want to buy or sell. One of the ways we do that is a quarterly, we call it a quarterly review or a quarterly asset valuations. We literally look and say, okay, where's your real estate at now compared to, quarter one, 2021, quarter one, 2022? Where are you at? What plans do you have going forward? Is this the only piece of real estate you want in your retirement portfolio, or do you want to acquire other pieces to help increase gains, and then sell out and just rely on cash over time when you retire? See, these are questions we get to ask now because it helps us then start to play in the market. But you need a resource. You need something to say, hey, Ryan, what does my house look like? Now, here's the cool thing about our market reports versus what you can get online. I want to show you because it is wildly different, right? And we all want, of course, we all want the same thing, which is highest and best. We want the most amount of money we can get. This is our capital and influence market report. Notice the 30-day trend right here. I'm not going to start there. I'm actually going to start where most people go, which is Zillow, and I'm using my house, okay? If we look at Zillow, ready for this? Zestimate says 1,032,000. Kind of cool, right? Then we go over to where? Redfin, 1,022,000. Okay. Then we go to realtor.com, 1,049,000. Well, if it's up to me, I'm taking this one. But then I got a realtor who say, sir, that actually might be a little off, might be a little high. Well, why? It's over $1 million. These three national search engines say I should get $1 million. I want $1 million. Interesting, right? Now, you're going to hear me say this a lot. You want hyper local neighborhood specific data. It's got to be about your neighborhood. Let me show you what I mean. I live in the city of Glendora. If I run a market report just for the city of Glendora, 30-day trends means this will roll. So tomorrow, if more data comes in, these numbers will look different. Rolling 30-day trend. Okay. Well, if I just go off of this, isn't my house worth 1.1? That's $100,000 more than this. That's what it says, the city of Glendora. Well, we know that your city is not your zip code. Well, Ryan, what do you mean by that? Well, if this is the average list price with the average days on market for the city of Glendora, I live in the 91741 zip code, right? Here's a market report for near Glendora. It's the zip code. I went ahead and drew it out, right? Look at that list price jump. That's what, $150,000 just in a zip code, $142,000 increase just by changing the zip code. Sure, it sits a little bit more, but wouldn't you rather have your property sit a few days longer for an extra 150? Look, one day for 150,000. The answer is, of course you would. And it's an 11% increase in the average list price over 30 days. It's crazy. Now, let me tell you what I say hyper local, right? Because remember, my house on realtor.com, $1,050,000. I want it, right? Now look at my house. Oh no, this is my house right here. There we go. Now, this is because I drew out my very specific neighborhood. If you're familiar with Glendora at all, right? Well, I guess let's stay here first. Look at this. How are you telling me my house is only going to be worth $882,000 when realtor.com says it's worth $1,050,000? You stupid agents don't know anything. Now, how many times have you heard that as an agent, or how many times have you thought that as an agent? Because I come and tell you 882 and you're looking at $1,050,000. You want the $1,050,000. I'm off. What is that? $170,000? Doesn't make any sense, right? It's because your neighborhood is not your zip code which is not your city, and none of the national search engines are accurate. All they do is what's called a Zestimate, right? Redfin has what they call their Redfin estimate. These are AVMs, automated valuation models. All these are algorithms running public records and spitting them out on the back end. That's all it is. What this is actual factual data pulled off of hyper local, not just zip codes, but in your neighborhood. Now, for those of you that live in Glendora, you know the second you cross Sierra Madre, you're up in the 1 points, right? Of course, I should be wildly grateful that a house I paid less than $700,000 for is now worth 880. I should be ecstatic, but we don't. We get greedy because we base our knowledge off of something that's not even true, but because it says it must be true. Why do we want you to be local in your neighborhood? Because this matters to you. This is how you track your net worth, right? This is where you live. I don't live in Northland. I don't live north of Sierra Madre. Hidden Springs and Indian Springs, Palm Drive. These are beautiful homes. It's different than right here. Now, these are beautiful homes too. The neighborhood's phenomenal. My neighbors are great. We have barbecues in the front yard, fire pits. Like it's a great, I would not want to live. I mean, this neighborhood, beautiful, right here on Willow Grove, right? It's phenomenal. Got good friends of mine live right down the street. Look at that, 1.1 for their neighborhood. Gorgeous. Okay. But this is different than this, even different than this. Okay. It just is. And so if we know that about it, this is why I say get a baseline for your neighborhood today. Text me, call me, send me an email, DM me if you're watching this on social media. But you've got to get the baseline for your neighborhood today. Because what if you're thinking about selling, but you're trying to time that market right at the top? And what if I pull and say, hey, you guys have actually softened in your neighborhood? See, you're looking at maybe the zip code or you're looking at his estimate, but what if your neighborhood is actually starting to soften already and you've already lost 1% or 2%? That's real money right now. So if you're trying to time the top of the market to sell, you need a market report and you need it today. There's a little bit more explanation below the video, but words are great, but I think a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I think a video is worth 1,000,000. If you own a piece of real estate or multiple pieces of real estate, we do this for every single piece of real estate that you own. It's time to get your properties on a market report. You can track it every 2 weeks. You could track it every week. You could track it every month, every quarter, once a year. You get to decide when you want to do that. If you're thinking about selling, time to start tracking it every 2 weeks because we don't know where that market's at on the teeter-totter, right? And so we want to make sure that if it teeters up a little bit, boom, you're gone. If it starts to teeter down consecutive weeks, consecutive months in a row, boom, you're gone. But now we can start tracking. A friend of mine, Larry Broughton, used to say, what is measured is improved. Let's start measuring and let's start tracking your assets because it deserves it and you deserve it. Hey, this week in real estate, we're talking about market reports. Happy to be here. Proud to serve. I need you to remember a couple of things. 1, get your market report. 2, you're valued, you're loved, you're appreciated. We'll see you next week.